a height requirement in the police force and firefighting, whatever. But with the actual military, the army, the navy, whatever, they will never have a height requirement. If anything, they'll have a height limit for tourmen, which they already do. But for shoremen, oh no, we'll be the first on the line. It will be the only place where they won't discriminate on height, on short height in particular. They might have a height limit for gentle giants, no taller than 6'7", because they can't fit into machinery. But us manlets, we're real men all of a sudden. So take that into consideration. They'll put all these stupid height requirements in all these other fields, and not even just in job fields. Like I said, in academia, in social life, like we see here. But the military, no. There will never be a height requirement for that. They'll even start probably deploying pathological dwarves, like actual dwarves, people who suffer from dwarfism. They did that in Ukraine, and people on Reddit were mocking the poor guy. He was a dwarf. And they're like, the Ukrainian military is running out of men. They have to resort to getting, midgets. And the poor guy, it's like, he's being conscripted, he's being forced to fight, and they're mocking him. So yeah, height requirements will never be, I don't want to say never, but height requirements in the military will be the last, the military will be the last place to have height requirements. And for good reason, because, war is eugenics. It's how, they can eradicate the quote-unquote genetic trash. But yeah, I kind of went off tangent. I've got so much to say, so I'm just going to say it, even if it's not really in order. But yeah, going back to this, again, if they can have high requirements for this social club, because that's what it is, it's a nightclub, they can have height requirements for nightlife. Imagine what else they can have height requirements for universities in Vietnam, which, again, even in short countries. Like I mentioned in another video, it's not just the Western first world, the developed nations, which not always, but they tend to have a taller average height. It's not just them discriminated against short people, or especially short men. Even the short nations too. And Vietnam's a communist nation. I thought communism was all about equality. But really, communism is eugenicist. Like the early socialists were like the Fabians and all that. They were all eugenicists. They were all about outbreeding what they deemed as, the genetic trash and whatever. So it's, never fall for that trap that communism is about equality and that, they're against what the far right, they were always blaming the far right for being eugenicist and discriminatory. Communism is no different. The far left is no different. But yeah, oh God, I just rambled on. Not rambled on, but I keep going off tangent. Look, just to kind of pretty much sum up it, I'm not going to say this could potentially, I'm just going to say it, and I hope I'm wrong. I'm always happy to be proven wrong. But in the near future, short men get prepared, because things like this are going to be more common. Again, height requirements everywhere. It may affect short women too, but I'm not too worried about short women. They can worry about themselves. I'm worried about short men, because we're going to be the primary targets. So again, this is already a type of social level discrimination. And again, if we didn't have the double standards, like short men could form our own associations without repercussions, or if we could discriminate on the basis of race or gender or sexuality or disability in some cases, and without social backlash or even having the state intervene and create stupid laws, then I would be like, meh, who cares? And I don't actually care. I still don't care. But I'm highlighting the fact that there is, double standards, not just against short men, but when it comes to other bases as well. Like, look at Arvolk, the white nationalist guy. I think his name's Arvolk. He built a white intentional community in Arkansas, I think. And, that's receiving a lot of backlash. I think he's come under fire, legally. Correct me if I'm wrong. In other words, he's been given a hard time just for creating an intentional community just for whites. And again, I'm not trying to bring race and all that involved. I'm just exemplifying. It's like how there's men's only groups or men's only resorts, whatever, and they're constantly under fire. And what happens is, even if there's no legal repercussion or there's no legal backlash, in the sense there's no laws banning something, it's still, you get the backlash from on a social level, from society, from normies, just say, on social media, in real life, but especially on social media. And when you have all these people complaining and spreading their slanders and making assumptions, that actually contributes to the censorship or the dismantling of that particular group, whatever it may be. So, if you have a men's only resort or a men's support network or whatever, or if it's on the basis, you'll have feminists, or not even just feminists, women in general, not even just women, let's just gynocentrists trying to, shut that down. They will start accusing the men of being gay, closeted gays, and again, incels, or it's misogynist, it has to be inclusive of women. A men's only space is sexist. It's just, discriminates against women, blah, 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 blah. Well, the same thing with race. If you get a white association and they they only, they discriminate on the basis of race. They only want their members joining and you have to be white. That's one of the requirements. Again, the social backlash will eventually, all the assumptions and the slanders from people, they're white supremacists, they're Nazis, they want to genocide minority groups, blah, 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 blah. All those types of comments, just say, whether on social media or in real life, that's what will contribute to the dismantling and to the banning of that particular association. I hope that makes sense. The same thing would happen to shortmen. I'm not too worried about us being insulted if we were to start a shortmen's association or even just a shortmen's support group. The Lollipop Guild, the Oompa Loompas. I don't care about those types of insults, because I've seen, every time I've proposed that idea, I've always seen those insults from women and tallmen, or from Uncle Tomlins. And, and it's always, I remember when I proposed that idea once, the tall guys were straight away, wouldn't you want to start a men's, a men's group for all men? Because it's not just short men struggling. See? Straight away. You get some defiance. You get some opposition. But here we have clubs, nightclubs, or even just association clubs like the TIC that literally have fundraising to financially aid tall people, but they're never under fire. They might be criticized, but they don't get banned or questioned for it. If you question that, how come, there's a tall international club, how come they only help tall people? You'll be moralized. What do you have against tall people? They're trying to help tall people. You're just jealous, you sound short. Anyways, I think I'll just wrap up. I hope I'm making sense. Sorry if I don't sound like I'm talking in order. But like I said, I've just got too much to say, and, I might go off tangent because I want to get it off my chest. But look, the main purpose of making this video was to kind of break down what's going to happen in the future. I hope I'm wrong. It might not happen next year, but it could. It could still happen in the next decade. Like, evaluate, think about it. Look at all the stigmas against short men. Look at all the, the social, even the social barriers. Like, I made videos recently, like, there's no height requirement for certain jobs or for certain positions in a job, like manager, but they still favour tall men. So like I said, this kind of stuff here, if they're going to start making height requirements for just everyday social life or nightlife, whatever, you don't think they're going to start making height requirements in the workforce as well? I mean, they already kind of do for certain jobs, but I'm saying even jobs that don't really need a height requirement, where height really plays no role. It's like, you apply for a job in some IT field for some IT company, and there must be 5'10" minimum, must be 6 foot plus. Really? Just to work on computers? Just to work in IT? Do you know what I'm saying? It can happen. Like I said, I mean, look at the university in Vietnam. If it can happen in short nations, literally banning people under a certain height from studying, everyone should have the right to study. If we don't have the right to study, then how are we going to work? Like, it's a prestigious university, but still, there shouldn't be a height requirement. It should be, if anything, there should be an intellectual requirement. And another thing I want to mention, there was in the Philippines, I remember seeing it on a blog from like an old anti-heightist account, and this was from like 2015. I forgot what it was, so I can't look it up. But one of the blogs he wrote showed a Dunkin' Donuts in the Philippines, and they had a poster on their window saying, "We are hiring, must be over 5'4", must be 5'4" over." And that's in the Philippines. That's another short nation. And that's for a stupid job in Dunkin' Donuts. Come on, you don't need to be 5'4" to make donuts or to serve customers who want to buy donuts. That's ridiculous. And this was over 10 years ago. So get prepared for these barriers. And they're just not going to be social. The social barriers have already started. The favoritism, now the actual, the height requirements for, nightclubs and all that. And even like the double standards, that's a barrier. So you can have clubs or gatherings dedicated to only tall people, or even sometimes only tall men, and they don't face backlash. Or, they're not shut. They might face backlash, but that backlash doesn't lead to them getting shut down. Yet we can't do the same on the basis, on other bases, on the basis of race or whatever.